Hey guys, what's going on? DreamReaver23 here with another Let's Play episode of Kerbal Space Program, a game that's available on Steam. It's put out by Squad, a great fun game to play. We're here on the map screen, kind of overlooking the Kerbal system, yeah. And you can kind of see, you know, the layout. If you've never seen this game, if you've never played this game, it's a really awesome game, and I definitely suggest a download of it. It's help Squad, you know, purchase it on Steam, purchase it through KerbalSpaceProgram.com. But you can see the Kerbal system. We are on this planet here, which is Kerbin. It gives you the velocity of the planet and everything like that, and all that good information on there. I do have some mods installed, and I'll put a link to all the mods and everything like that I have installed in the description below. But a really, really awesome game. I love this game. I've been playing it for a while, quite a few months now. But yeah, enjoying it. What I did want to show you is I am actually going to go through and set up mission parameters, but I wanted to kind of give you an overview of the solar system. If you've never seen the game before and first time checking it out, definitely a game that's really fun to play. But I wanted to show you our it's the Twitch International Space Station, or the Twitch Space Station, and I do a lot of gameplay of this on twitch.tv/DreamReaver23. You can check me out over there. But you can kind of see we have our space station set up over here. And it has, I have 7 crew members on this space station. Got this up here fully legitly. Didn't use any cheats or anything like that. And it was a pain in the buttons to get up here because it was a really big ship. You can hear the Kerbals kind of chatting back and forth. I have the Chatterer mod on here, and it's pretty fun. But overall, I think just a really nice looking space station up here. I have docked one mission docked on here, which was, I think that was a video that went up. It might not have. It wasn't, actually, now that I remember. But you can see the crew hatch, and we can click on here, and you got Jebediah, and you got 6 of them in here. Are all 7 of them there? No, just 6. And then we have the crew hatch up here that has Rayler in there by himself. He's at the helm, if you will. And then this one back here has nobody in it. But we have a total of 8 docking ports to be able to dock to the space station. It does have a supply of monopropellant on here, so you can use your RCS, you can actually refill on here. But there's no fuel up at this space station, so it's not like a stopping point to refill your liquid fuel and oxidizer. But it's still, you know, a nice space station that took a while to get up here. And it is in a good orbit, 340 for the periapses. And, well, I guess I should say 340,346 meters for the periapses and 340,692 basically meters for the apoapses. So a good set for a non-decaying orbit. So, but that's not what this is all about. This mission is not about this this space station. This is just kind of one part for our space station to go through on here. So, I'm going to go back down into the vehicle assembly building. I'm going to show you my next mission, which I want to go through, and I got the Kethane mod installed, and so I'm going to go through and start doing tracking to find, you know, Kethane reserves on the moon, and I'd like to go also on Minimus. So, I'm going to pause the video, guys, and I will join you back in the vehicle assembly building. So, be right back, guys. Alright guys, I am back, and we are here in the vehicle assembly building on Kerbin. You can see my little Kerbals walking around down there at the bottom. Little scientists and engineers down there going through and developing the next generation space flight stuff that might get you to the moon, or might just crash. Most likely it's just crash. I do crash a lot more than I actually successfully fly, but you know, I'm no Scott Manley. So I did want to give you an overview of this ship. This is my Kethane satellite. I should probably name this Observer. Yeah, there we go. Save that. Using mostly stock parts on here, except for, if I can get in here, I do have the quantum struts on here that kind of help to go through and keep everything together. And a little bitty tiny engine on there. Some solar panels to provide power for our Kethane detector. And then we have some just fuel up top. So this is set up in multiple stages. You have your launch stage, which is powered with the solid rocket boosters, 350 kilonewtons of thrust. You also have the, I want to say these are the Poodles engines on here. Obviously keeping everything together. This stage will break off, so the solid rocket boosters will break off. And I'll use all this fuel right here. Once that gets done, go up to this stage, which has a much smaller engine on there that'll be able to get you around. And then finally to this last little stage, which is just really for, you know, small stuff, adjustments and everything like that. There is no RCS on this ship, which is, I was flying it yesterday and I actually had quite a long flight, but it makes it a little difficult to control. So we are going to go through here and add some Kethane, or I'm sorry, some monopropellant onto this ship. 0.6. Probably do this a different way. As you can see, I do have quite a few parts. It's just from the different mods, but they're all pretty fun. 3.4. How about this little guy? We can put 4 of these on here. RCS thrusters. This will help us to just kind of maintain some of that ability to control ourselves. And it's really more for the rotation and whatnot. Alright, so we're going to save this once more. Save. And launch. And I'm going to pause this and we'll go and get back together out on the launch pad. So, but this is my Moon Kethane Satellite Observer. So we're going to do this. We might actually launch a couple of these for our first mission. Be right back, guys. Alright, guys, and we are back out here on the launch pad. You can see I have some wrecks or something over there. Just kind of chilling off in the distance. It is a nice day for flying, so we are going to go through and get this thing launched up. Go ahead and give us some full power, set up our SAS, and monitor our resources. Now this one, the only thing that I have on this system, I don't have the laser system or anything on here. This is just the SAS that's going to be controlling a lot of this. So we're going to go ahead and get this started up. And blast off. Now from here, guys, I'm actually going to switch over and turn off the sound, and so I can go through and fast forward this and do post commentary later on. So I'll be right back, guys. All right, guys, as I was explaining, this is a mission just to get this satellite up to the moon so we can go through and start getting some Kethane readings from it. You need those so you can know where to land a rover or a base or anything along those lines. If you don't do that, it makes it really difficult because you can land, go through all the process of landing and getting a base down or getting, you know, just a rover down, and then still have to drive for, you know, an hour or so just to get to a Kethane deposit. So right now we're going through the process, we're getting set up and getting into the start of an orbit here around Kerbin so that we can go through and slingshot ourselves to the moon. I really do like the maneuvering system that they added in here so you can set up maneuvers. It does really, really help and makes it to where, you know, I'm not using MechJeb or anything like that on this system, so it makes it to where even without, before you kind of needed MechJeb, if you had any idea, or, you know, as I started off, I had some sort of idea, the practices to go through and get a ship into orbit, but I didn't have any actual clue on how exactly to do it. So MechJeb made it to where you kind of use that to learn a little bit more of what you should do, and that did help out. But whenever they put in the maneuvering systems, that's just, it's gorgeous. So yeah, right now we are going and basically speeding up time so we can go through and get into our moon burn, our mooner burn. I guess that's the word. And you'll see I always do this. I always give myself, one, if I know it's going to take a little bit longer to go through and burn, I kind of split the difference. So this one, it's saying it's, what, a 19-second burn, or... It's kind of difficult to read. I'm doing this post-commentary, so it's kind of blurry on my preview. But I believe it says a 19-second burn, so I'll go through ahead and split the difference, which sometimes it does come pretty close. Sometimes it'll be like, this will be like a 4-second burn, and it's like 2 minutes later. But this one should come through nice and on time. Actually, I know it did because, you know, I've already done this mission, so. But I always give myself, you know, 20, 30 seconds, depending on the ship, just to go through and kind of make sure that I'm synced up as best I can on that little reticle dot, if you will. Right there, I ran out of fuel for my initial stage, which... Being able to get that far into orbit on just your initial stage is really nice, and that makes it to where everything else is going to be pretty smooth with the your, you know, secondary and tertiary stages. Finishing off. Let me go. I don't wanna be your hero. Alright, so we got into our orbit. Go ahead and delete that maneuver. We're going to go around here, and the one really cool thing I like is that even if you don't get it right spot on the first time, you can adjust it and say, okay, I know how far out I need to go. Let's go ahead and adjust this in. Now what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get it to where you can see it's 111,000 meters. The small little part that I have up top for the Kethane monitoring, or, you know, surveying equipment, it has a 250,000 meter range to it. So if you go any higher than 250,000 meters, it's not going to register anything. So I'm trying to get it under there and also make it to where I, you know, have a decent speed, because the higher out you go, the slower you're going to rotate basically around there, around the moon. And that's the same thing with here on Kerbin. Whenever you're further out, you don't need as much forward momentum to maintain an orbit because you have less gravity on your mass of the ship. So you want to do it to where it's close enough that you'll be able to maintain a good speed and it doesn't take forever, because you can only go to a 10 times speed. You can go to the next level up on whenever you're monitoring for Kethane, but it doesn't do a steady line. It actually just kind of blip, 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 and it does it every so often, which you can get an idea, but you want to get a good coverage on there. So we are warping out here, and a good little, we actually came around nicely into that bit. So we're going to go through at this point and add another maneuver. That's going to make it to where we can actually bring this into an orbit around the moon. And I always fiddle. I spend more time fiddling with the maneuvers to try to get them as best as possible. So you'll see that I do that, and I always do that as well. I hit shift on accident. Get used to being in the VAB or the SPH, and that's just what happens. So we're finishing up right here. We're gonna get our maneuver set up so we can get an orbit around the moon and get lined up for it. Speed up some time, actually. If they didn't put that, you know, the time warp function ability in here, I would go crazy. Because literally waiting like 59 minutes for you to be able to go through and do a burn would take forever. But it's cool. They did put that on there, and I think that's their best bet. Especially with some of these missions, to be like, alright, it's going to take me a year and a half to get out there. Awesome. So I get lined up, and we're going to go through here pretty quick and start up the burn. Actually, I think we'll go for this one at 7 seconds. Yep, there we go. Always try to maintain as much of that integrity for your burns as possible. If that little blue reticle starts going up and changing for your maneuver, you better try to track with it. Alright guys, so I am back and doing the live commentary again. It's kind of going to be mixed up a little bit through there. But as you can see, we got through and have made the moon orbit pretty well, I might add. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect, you know, non-decaying orbit. 167 and 170. We can go ahead and fix it, but honestly, we're going to be doing just a few fly-arounds on here to collect data for the Kethane. Which to do that, we just go right here, right-click on this, show map, right? So it's going to show our spot location, and then activate detector. And you go to town. It goes to work there. We are going to turn off the detection sound because it does get annoying after a bit. But yeah, that is our first bit of information on here. And what I'm going to do is I'll actually probably speed this up. I'm going to go back to the post commentary on here and just explain, if you've never worked with the Kethane mod, I'm going to give you some of the details about it in the post commentary. So we're going to do that while we rotate around Kerbin, this beautiful, or the moon, this beautiful view right here. So yeah, sun is going away. So I'll be right back, guys. All right, so I'm back. It's the post commentary, me again, and so I'm just giving you an explanation of kind of what the Kethane mod is. If the Kethane mod allows you to go through and scan, using the scanners to scan for Kethane, and then you go down and you extract the Kethane using the little mining drills and stuff like that. You store it on your ships, and you can actually transfer it to, like if you have a base set up, you can actually transfer it down there. And that's going to allow you to go through and hold it. From there, you can actually convert it, and you can convert it into xenon gas, monopropellant, liquid fuel, and oxidizer, which is really cool. So if you set up a base, and the plan is we're actually going to go through and set up a base that we can go through and store this monopropellant and, you know, other things into large containers on the base, which I might actually bring back in the large containers, the spherical containers mod, just for the fact that you can start off with them empty and then get them transferred up to the, you know, the moon base. You can actually bring them up there. And then that way you can go through and have one large container instead of lots of small ones. Because if you're trying to go through and have a ship, say you have a ship that just goes through and brings fuel from the containers on the moon up to a space station you have floating around the moon. Well, you don't want to do it to where you have to go through and connect to this little 100-liter tank, this 100-liter tank, this 100-liter tank. Whenever you can go through and just do it to where I'll just connect to this 1,700-liter tank or 17,000-liter tank and be able to transfer all the fuel that I need instead of lots of small ones. So that's one thing that I'm going to do on there. There's a couple of, like, basically the frequently asked questions that happen a lot with this mod is, you know, what should you do first? Well, obviously, I mean, you can start off just building a rover and going out on the Kerbal Space Center, around the Kerbal Space Center of Kerbin, and you can get Kethane. They do have Kethane on Kerbin. Obviously, it's not the most useful unless you're on the complete opposite side of Kerbin, but the best way to do it is to go through and set up some sort of satellite like we did on this one, and then go through and scan, you know, whatever planet you're going to be going to. You know, where should I look for Kethane to mine? Kethane appears on the planets, all the planets and moons. So large deposits are scattered all around the world. You'll see some deposits that are smaller, some that are bigger, and it just kind of happens randomly. So, you know, and then the Kethane, you can actually have a single ship that has like the converter and everything on there, but a lot of those parts weigh a lot, and so it makes it to where you can it's easier to separate them out and have like a little base operation, And then, you know, like I was saying earlier, if you want to have one ship that just keeps, you know, bringing fuel or whatever back up to a space station to store, great, cool. You have your operations base set up. Let's see, does Kethane work for, you know, different versions? I'm actually using the version that's up on the forums. It's the 0.5.1. Let me see, actually. 0.5.1. It's the version that's updated for KSP 0.20.2. So it works. It's compatible, and the developer for this, Mahir, he's been really good about keeping it updated and adding new parts in, which is really nice. And that's one of my favorite parts about this, is that you have some mod developers out there that will go through and excuse me, that'll go through and they'll develop this really cool mod, but then they stop. They don't add anything else to it. They don't keep it updated whenever the game updates. And a lot of these games that are coming out nowadays that are going through these alpha phases, so you can get on with the game during alpha, there's a lot of changes that happen every, you know, few weeks or few months, and they just say, okay, well, I'm done with it. I don't want to deal with it anymore. You really need to, you know, have somebody else that can take over it, or give them permission to take over it, you know, whatever the case may be. But that's going to make it to where it's going to be something that if you have, especially with this one adds a whole lot of element to the game. And if you just go through and say, all right, cool, here's this, awesome, everybody falls in love with it and like really enjoys it, and then you just stop and you don't give anybody permission to keep working on it, then it takes a lot away from people. They're just like, oh, well, you know, I really liked it whenever I had the Kethane mod, you know, for this game, and it can actually lose people on just the game in general because it's stuff that's not implemented yet. So that's my opinions on it. But Mahir has done a great job of keeping it updated. The Kethane mod originally came out in 0.14. I want to say it was 0.14 that it originally came out in. And every time there's an update, he goes through an update, he keeps it updated, he keeps it maintaining. And the cool thing is he has it to where other people have developed, you know, the bigger tanks and stuff like that, and different things that work with the Kethane mod, which is really nice. So that's, I don't know, one of my favorite things is just that it keeps going, it keeps working on the different mods, like, and how they all work kind of together. So I think it's pretty sweet, but that's my opinion on it. Take it for what it's worth. So as you can see on here, we're still going through and I'm messing with the speed because I'm trying to figure out that, you know, fine line. And basically, times 10 is like the best warp that you can go through and do on here. You did see that I did adjust the trajectory and our orbit to where it's going over the planet. And the reason for that is because the only thing that's providing this satellite power is solar. Well, whenever you're behind the planet, you're behind it for so long because of the slower orbit speeds that you run completely dead. And so you'll see that big gap over here on the map, the detector map. You'll see that big gap. That's just where I ran out of battery. So I don't want to have that happen. So that's why I'm going over the poles of the moon, so that way I can always have constant power supply from the sun. And it's a good recommendation to do it. You're also going to cover, it seems like a bigger area. If you look at my initial orbit right there that I went right around the equator of the moon, it stayed pretty straight because the moon doesn't, it's not as tilted as Kerbin is, and so you have a much more narrow detection path. So I think it's better to go over the poles on a lot of these planets. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the first part of a series. I am going to have more missions that are going to be coming available for me that I'm going to, you know, go through. I'm not going to have any of these available. I will try to get something available so that I can have all of the mods together. And you can just download that and download the ship files. But until next time, guys, I'm DreamReaver23 saying game happy, and I will see you all later. Bye, guys.